Picture this: you're standing on the edge of a vast, uncharted landscape. The path you're walking on begins to shift, becoming unstable. You look ahead, and you can feel it. The landscape is about to change drastically. You might even hear the rumblings beneath your feet. What you're facing isn't just an obstacle, it's a fundamental shift in how the world operates. The very ground beneath you is transforming, and if you don't prepare, the consequences will be severe. This isn't just about a simple recession. This is a wave of change that is far bigger, more complex, and more transformative than anything we've seen in generations. In times of profound uncertainty, when everything we know begins to break down, it's easy to feel lost. We look to the past for guidance, hoping the familiar will provide answers. But I urge you to understand, what is coming is not simply the next cycle of economic contraction. It's a broader, more systemic shift that will redefine our world for years to come. And in this moment, our greatest strength will be our ability to embrace this change, to learn from it, and to adapt. The first lesson to take from this is that systems evolve. They don't stay static. If you look closely, you'll realize that we are witnessing a fundamental transformation across multiple systems: economic, political, social, and even environmental. We are no longer dealing with isolated crises. We are facing the convergence of multiple forces that are pulling on the fabric of our society. Technological advancement, shifting geopolitical dynamics, the rise of new economic models, these elements are converging, creating a new world order that demands we think differently. The systems around us are always evolving. At every moment, our societies, economies, and even our environments are in flux, adjusting to the forces that shape them. These shifts can often go unnoticed, happening so gradually that we might not realize their magnitude until the change becomes undeniable. However, to truly understand where we're headed, we must grasp one fundamental truth: systems do not stay static. They grow, they adapt, and sometimes they break down to make way for something new. What we are witnessing today is not a temporary disruption. It is a transformation, one that will reverberate through every layer of society, altering the way we live, work, and think. Look back at the history of civilization. Whether it's the rise of industrialization, the technological revolution, or the creation of the internet, each of these monumental shifts has been driven by a change in systems. These changes didn't happen in a vacuum. They were the result of complex forces working together, forces that were often unpredictable but always transformative. The same is true today. The world is undergoing a systemic transformation that will alter the very foundations of how we operate on a global scale. We can look at the economy as one example of a system in flux. The global financial system, in its current form, was built over decades, with its roots tracing back to post-World War II structures. These institutions and frameworks were established under specific conditions, ones that are rapidly changing. The technological revolution is accelerating, and with it, new models of doing business, distributing wealth, and managing labor are emerging. We are at the threshold of a new economic order, one that is being shaped by automation, artificial intelligence, and the rapid digitalization of nearly every industry. The old economic structures, reliant on traditional industries and methods of production, are no longer able to keep pace with speed and scale of these new changes. The question is no longer if these systems will change, but when and what they will look like once they do. This isn't just a matter of technological disruption, it's a matter of systemic failure and reconstruction. Think about it: the very foundations that have held up our current economic systems are starting to show cracks. We are seeing the breakdown of traditional industries that once drove entire economies, and in their place, we are witnessing the rise of entirely new industries, ones that operate at a pace and scale previously unimaginable. The challenge, however, is not just recognizing this transformation, but understanding that we can no longer rely on the old systems to guide us through it. The systems of the past are built on assumptions that no longer hold true. They were designed for a world that no longer exists. But even as we face the dismantling of outdated systems, there is immense opportunity in the horizon for those who can see the potential in change. The very nature of systemic transformation is that it opens up space for innovation. When systems evolve or collapse, they create voids, and it is in these voids that new ideas can take root. This is where we must focus our attention, on the emerging systems, the new forces that are taking shape before our eyes. We must adapt to the changing landscape by understanding the systems that are forming and finding ways to integrate into them. The key is not to resist change, but to align ourselves with the forces that are shaping the future. One of the most powerful things we can do in this time of change is to shift our perspective. Instead of seeing the disruption of old systems as a threat, we must begin to view it as an opportunity to build something better. It's about understanding the underlying forces at play and learning how to work with them, not against them. The systems we are creating today, whether in economics, technology, or even the environment, will define the next chapter of human civilization. Those who can anticipate these changes, who can understand the patterns that drive these shifts, will be the ones who lead the way. Of course, this requires a deep understanding of the systems themselves. It's not enough to simply react to change as it happens. To truly thrive in a world that is shifting beneath our feet, we must become students of the systems around us. We must learn how to recognize the signals of transformation before they become visible to the wider public, and we must understand how those changes will impact the world in both the short and long term. The more we learn to understand and predict these changes, the better equipped we will be to make decisions that set us up for success, even in the face of uncertainty. This also requires the ability to detach ourselves from the familiar and comfortable. When systems evolve, it often means the things we've relied on for stability may no longer serve us. This can be a difficult pill to swallow, especially when we've built our lives and careers around systems that seem permanent. But to navigate a world of constant change, we must learn to let go of outdated assumptions and embrace a mindset that is open to transformation. We must build resilience, not by clinging to what we know, but by constantly evolving ourselves and our strategies to stay in tune with the shifting landscape. Understanding that systems evolve is not just a matter of intellectual acknowledgement, it's a call to action. It's about recognizing that we are not passive observers in this process, we are active participants. The choices we make today, the actions we take in response to the changes we see around us, will shape the systems of tomorrow. If we can approach the future with a mindset of proactive engagement rather than reactive fear, we will be far better equipped to navigate the challenges ahead. The world we live in is far more interconnected than ever before, and the systems that govern our societies and economies are more complex and interdependent. These interconnected systems are constantly evolving, and the forces driving this evolution are powerful. But if we understand how to navigate these shifts, if we learn how to predict and respond to these changes, we will not just survive the coming transformations, we will thrive in them. We will not be passive victims of change, but active architects of the new world order. In this moment, as the ground beneath us shifts, the most important question is not whether change is coming, it's how we choose to respond to it. The future will be shaped by those who are ready to engage with the systems of tomorrow, who are willing to learn, adapt, and grow as these transformations unfold. The world is evolving, and with it, the opportunities to shape our future. Those who understand the forces of change will not only survive, they will define the future. In times of great transformation, the key to success is not about holding on to the past or seeking comfort in the known. It's about developing the ability to embrace the unknown, to lean into change, and to adjust our mindset to see disruption as an opportunity rather than a threat. The world is not static. It's always shifting, always evolving, and those who are able to navigate this change with a sense of purpose and clarity are the ones who will thrive in the future. This is the mindset that will help us not only survive but also unlock the immense potential that comes with periods of upheaval. The reason why so many people find it difficult to embrace change is simple: the fear of uncertainty. It's natural to want to stick to the familiar. The familiar brings comfort. It feels safe, even if it no longer serves us. We all have a natural inclination to hold on to what we know, even if it no longer works. But to truly thrive in a rapidly changing world, we must overcome this instinct and embrace the unknown. The future is unpredictable, and we cannot control all the variables, but we can control how we respond to those changes. The key lies in developing the capacity to see opportunity in uncertainty and to take action in the face of it. When we face major changes, there is a tendency to look for answers in the past. We search for patterns from history and try to apply them to the present. While historical lessons are invaluable, they cannot be the sole guiding force for today's challenges. The world we live in today is fundamentally different from the one that came before. We are no longer bound by the same structures or limitations. The systems and industries that once defined our economies are undergoing radical shifts, and many of the old assumptions we relied upon are no longer valid. This is why trying to navigate today's challenges with yesterday's solutions is a flawed approach. The world is changing, and to adapt, we must change with it. The most successful people and organizations are those that understand this and are willing to evolve alongside the systems around them. They don't resist change. Instead, they actively seek it out. They understand that the unknown is not a threat, but a canvas for innovation. In times of disruption, the greatest opportunities lie not in maintaining the status quo, but in finding new ways of doing things, in pioneering new solutions that others may not yet see. It's about thinking beyond the limitations of what has come before and imagining what could be possible in a radically different future. To do this, we must develop a mindset of continuous learning. The ability to embrace the unknown is not a skill that comes naturally. It's something we must cultivate over time. It requires the humility to recognize that we don't have all the answers and the courage to step into unfamiliar territory. It means being open to new ideas, to new ways of thinking, and to new approaches to solving problems. Those who succeed in the face of disruption are not those who have all the answers, but those who are willing to ask the right questions and seek the solutions that others are overlooking. This process of adaptation is not always easy. It requires resilience, the ability to persevere in the face of setbacks and failures. Embracing change means making mistakes, learning from them, and adjusting our strategies accordingly. The road ahead will not be without obstacles, but the key is to see these obstacles not as barriers, but as opportunities to refine our thinking, to learn, and to grow. Failure is not something to fear. It is simply feedback that guides us toward better decisions and better outcomes. When we talk about embracing change, we are also talking about the ability to be agile. Agility is not about making quick, impulsive decisions. It's about being able to adjust our course as we learn more, as new information becomes available, and as conditions shift. It's about developing the flexibility to change direction when necessary without being attached to a specific outcome. In a world that is constantly evolving, those who can pivot when needed, who can reassess and course correct, are the ones who will succeed in the long run. Moreover, embracing change means fostering a culture of experimentation. This is especially important for organizations. In times of great uncertainty, traditional approaches to business can feel like they are no longer effective. The systems we've relied on for years are being disrupted by new technologies, new business models, and new consumer behaviors. The challenge for businesses is not to resist these changes, but to experiment with new ways of operating. This could mean trying new technologies, exploring new business models, or finding ways to engage with customers in ways that were not previously possible. Successful companies are those that create an environment where experimentation is encouraged and where failures are seen as stepping stones towards success. They understand that the only way to innovate is to try new things, to test different approaches, and to learn from the results. In embracing change, we must also acknowledge the importance of mindset. The way we think about the future shapes how we respond to it. If we approach change with a fixed mindset, seeing challenges as insurmountable obstacles, we are more likely to shy away from taking risks or making difficult decisions. On the other hand, if we adopt a growth mindset, one that sees change as an opportunity for learning and development, we open ourselves up to new possibilities. A growth mindset allows us to embrace the unknown with confidence, knowing that we have the ability to adapt, learn, and ultimately thrive, even in the face of uncertainty. It is also crucial to recognize that embracing change is not a one-time event, but a continuous process. The world will continue to evolve, and as it does, we must continue to evolve with it. This means constantly reevaluating our assumptions, refining our strategies, and pushing ourselves to think beyond our current limitations. In doing so, we not only prepare ourselves for the future, we shape the future. By embracing the unknown and adapting to change, we become active participants in the process of transformation, guiding it in ways that align with our goals and values. Ultimately, embracing change is not about predicting the future with certainty. It's about preparing ourselves to face whatever the future holds with clarity, resilience, and a willingness to adapt. The world is changing, and it will continue to do so. But the ability to navigate these changes, to see them as opportunities rather than threats, and to act with confidence in the face of uncertainty is a skill that we can all develop. It is not about fearing the unknown, it's about learning to thrive in it. As we navigate through times of significant change, one of the most important lessons we can learn is to understand the intricate relationship between risk and reward. Many people tend to see risk as something to avoid, something inherently negative, but this is a misconception that can severely limit our ability to thrive. Risk is a natural part of life, and when we learn to manage it effectively, we open ourselves to greater opportunities, growth, and success. The key lies not in avoiding risk, but in understanding it, recognizing its presence, measuring its potential impact, and most importantly, positioning ourselves to leverage it in a way that aligns with our goals. The reality is that the world is full of uncertainty. This uncertainty manifests in many forms: economic shifts, technological disruptions, geopolitical instability, and even environmental challenges. These factors create an unpredictable landscape that can leave many feeling apprehensive. The most common response to this uncertainty is to retreat into the familiar, to cling to the known, and to avoid anything that feels risky. However, this mindset can be stifling because it prevents us from exploring new avenues for growth and success. It keeps us confined to the past, to what we already know, and it limits our ability to adapt to the changes unfolding around us. Understanding risk requires a shift in perspective. Risk is not inherently bad, it's simply the uncertainty of the outcome. The difference between those who successfully navigate turbulent times and those who struggle often comes down to their approach to risk. Instead of fearing it, they embrace it as an essential element of progress. The key is not to take blind risks, but to take calculated ones, risks that are informed by careful thought, research, and an understanding of the potential rewards. Those who can accurately assess risk and make informed decisions are the ones who are best positioned to capitalize on the opportunities that arise from change. To truly understand risk, we must first recognize that it's not a one-size-fits-all concept. The risk in a particular situation is determined by a combination of factors, including the context in which it arises, the scale of the potential outcomes, and the degree of control we have over the situation. For example, in investing, the risk of losing money is not the same across all assets. Some investments come with a higher probability of failure, but they also carry the potential for higher rewards. On the other hand, low-risk investments may offer more stability, but often yield lower returns. The key to managing risk, then, is understanding these trade-offs and determining where to position yourself based on your risk tolerance and your long-term objectives. Risk is also inherently tied to time. In a world that is rapidly changing, the timing of decisions becomes just as important as the decisions themselves. There are risks associated with both action and inaction. Delaying decisions in the hope that the uncertainty will resolve itself can be just as risky as making a hasty decision without adequate information. The key is to balance patience with action, to know when to wait for more clarity, and when to seize an opportunity before it passes. Those who can navigate this delicate balance are often the ones who achieve the greatest success. Managing risk also involves understanding the concept of diversification. This is especially relevant in the context of investments, but it extends far beyond financial markets. In life and business, diversification refers to spreading resources, efforts, and attention across multiple areas, rather than placing all of them into a single venture. By doing so, we reduce our exposure to the risk of a single failure while increasing our chances of success in other areas. This principle is vital when dealing with uncertainty because it ensures that we have multiple avenues to pursue, each with its own set of risks and rewards. By not putting all our eggs in one basket, we give ourselves the best chance of thriving, even if one path doesn't turn out as expected. One of the most important aspects of risk management is the ability to assess the potential for failure. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of potential rewards, but we must also consider the possibility of loss. This is where many people fail to take the right actions. They become overly focused on the upside and ignore the downside risks. Successful individuals and organizations understand that failure is always a possibility, and that the key to managing risk is not avoiding failure, but mitigating its impact. This involves making thoughtful decisions, setting clear boundaries, and ensuring that we have contingencies in place to handle setbacks when they occur. In addition to understanding and managing risk, it's essential to foster a mindset that allows us to embrace risk with confidence. This requires developing mental resilience, the ability to stay focused and make decisions under pressure without letting fear or anxiety cloud our judgment. The most successful individuals understand that risk is an inevitable part of life, and that it's not something to be feared, but something to be understood and controlled. They see risk as a challenge to be navigated, not a threat to be avoided. This mindset is critical because it shapes the decisions we make in the face of uncertainty. When we approach risk with confidence, we are more likely to take the necessary actions to achieve our goals. We are more likely to make bold decisions, to seize opportunities, and to push ourselves beyond our comfort zones. It's in these moments, when we are willing to step into the unknown, that the greatest rewards are often found. But this requires a deep understanding of risk, a willingness to make informed decisions, and the courage to act even when the outcome is uncertain. Finally, we must recognize that risk is not just a personal experience, it's a collective one. In a world that is increasingly interconnected, the risks we face are shared by communities, organizations, and societies. This is why collaboration and open communication are so important. When we face risks together, we can pool our knowledge, resources, and strengths to better navigate the challenges ahead. By learning from each other and working collectively, we increase our ability to assess and manage risk in a way that benefits everyone involved. Risk and reward are two sides of the same coin. Without risk, there is no reward. Without reward, there is no reason to take risk. In times of change, it is essential that we learn how to navigate this balance effectively. By understanding risk, embracing it, and managing it with clarity and confidence, we position ourselves to thrive in an uncertain world. Success does not come from avoiding risk. It comes from learning how to take the right risks at the right time with the right mindset. In times of profound change, one of the most critical abilities we can develop is the capacity to act proactively rather than reactively. The world is undergoing constant shifts, and if we wait until change has already occurred, we often find ourselves in a reactive state, scrambling to adapt to circumstances that have already evolved beyond our control. By the time we react, the opportunity to shape our future may have passed. This is why the most successful individuals, organizations, and nations are those that understand the importance of foresight and take proactive steps to position themselves for success, even in the face of uncertainty. Proactivity is not about being prescient or predicting the future with perfect accuracy. Rather, it's about recognizing patterns, understanding the forces at play, and taking deliberate action based on that knowledge. It's about seeing the direction in which the world is moving and preparing to meet that future before it fully arrives. This requires a mindset that is forward-looking, one that understands that the present is merely a stepping stone to the future, and that the choices we make today will determine the opportunities available to us tomorrow. When we think about proactivity, it's easy to fall into the trap of assuming that it's about making grand, sweeping decisions or taking huge risks in pursuit of what we hope will be big rewards. However, true proactivity often involves taking smaller, more deliberate steps, ones that accumulate over time and compound into significant outcomes. It's about being intentional with our actions, about making thoughtful choices rather than waiting for circumstances to force our hand. By making proactive decisions, we create opportunities for ourselves and others rather than simply responding to events as they unfold. This ability to act proactively begins with developing a deep understanding of the systems around us. Whether we are dealing with financial markets, technological advancements, geopolitical shifts, or societal changes, everything is interconnected. The more we understand these systems, the better equipped we are to anticipate how they will evolve and the impact they will have on our lives. This understanding does not come from simply watching the headlines or reacting to the latest news cycle. It comes from studying the underlying forces that drive change, from understanding the trends and patterns that are shaping the world. Once we understand these patterns, we can take steps to position ourselves in a way that aligns with the direction of change. For example, if we recognize that a technological revolution is coming, whether in the form of artificial intelligence, automation, or digital currency, we can proactively invest in the skills, knowledge, and resources that will allow us to thrive in that new world. We don't wait for technology to disrupt our industry, we get ahead of it, adapting and evolving our practices to stay relevant. Proactivity also involves making choices that create flexibility and adaptability. In a world that is increasingly complex and unpredictable, it's not enough to simply make a decision and stick with it, come what may. Instead, we must build in the ability to pivot when circumstances change. This means thinking ahead to potential challenges and preparing contingency plans. It's about making decisions that allow us to adjust and adapt rather than locking ourselves into a single path that may no longer be viable in the future. One of the key elements of proactive decision making is understanding the concept of time. While many people view time as a linear progression from one moment to the next, successful proactive thinkers recognize that time is not just a continuous flow. It is a series of opportunities that need to be seized at the right moment. The idea of waiting for the right time can be dangerous if it becomes an excuse for inaction. Proactivity means recognizing the right time when it arrives and acting quickly before the opportunity slips away. In this way, the ability to make decisions at the right moment can be the difference between success and failure. To be proactive, we must also be willing to embrace uncertainty. The future is always unknown, and no one can predict exactly how things will unfold. However, rather than letting this uncertainty paralyze us, we can use it as an impetus to act. The most successful individuals and organizations are those that understand that uncertainty is a constant in life, and that the best way to navigate it is by taking informed action. They don't wait for all the answers before making decisions. Instead, they act based on the best information available and are willing to course correct when necessary. They trust in their ability to adapt and adjust as new information comes to light, knowing that an action often carries a higher cost than making a decision and learning from it. Proactivity also means thinking beyond our immediate needs and considering the long-term implications of our actions. In a world that often prioritizes short-term gains, those who think long-term are the ones who are most likely to thrive. By focusing on what will matter in the years ahead, we position ourselves to benefit from the shifts and changes that are already underway. This requires a certain level of discipline, the ability to resist the temptation to make decisions based on short-term gratification, and the courage to invest in the future. Another crucial element of proactivity is the ability to influence and shape the environment around us. This is particularly important when we consider the role of leadership. Proactive leaders do not simply react to circumstances, they shape them. They understand that their decisions, actions, and mindset can influence the direction of the systems they are a part of. By leading with intention and foresight, proactive leaders create a ripple effect that inspires others to act in ways that align with the larger vision. Leadership, in this sense, is not about controlling the future, but about guiding others through the uncertainty and empowering them to take their own proactive actions. As we look ahead, it's clear that the world is going to continue changing in ways that are impossible to predict with certainty. However, those who succeed in this environment will not be the ones who wait for change to come to them. They will be the ones who anticipate change, who take proactive steps to prepare for it, and who shape it in ways that align with their values and objectives. This requires developing a mindset that embraces action, that values foresight over reaction, and that sees uncertainty as an opportunity rather than a threat. In a world full of complexity and unpredictability, proactivity is the most powerful tool we have. It's not about predicting the future or controlling every variable. It's about understanding the dynamics at play, recognizing the forces that are shaping our world, and taking deliberate action to position ourselves for success. By being proactive, we take control of our future rather than letting it unfold according to forces beyond our control. It's this mindset, this commitment to thoughtful, intentional action that will ultimately allow us to navigate the uncertainty of the future with confidence and clarity. As we look to the future, we must acknowledge that we are on the brink of a monumental shift, one that will reshape the systems that have defined our world for generations. The changes we face are not temporary disruptions. They are fundamental transformations that will challenge us to rethink everything we know about economics, technology, and society. However, amidst this uncertainty lies incredible opportunity. The key to navigating this change is not to fear it or resist it, but to embrace it with a mindset that is proactive, adaptable, and open to new possibilities. Understanding that systems evolve and adapt allows us to see the world not as it is, but as it will be. The future is being shaped by forces that are already in motion, and those who can recognize these shifts early, who can understand the patterns at play, are the ones who will position themselves to thrive. By embracing the unknown and accepting risk as a natural part of growth, we unlock the potential for extraordinary success. However, success in this new era will not come from passively waiting for change to happen. It will come from proactively preparing for it, making informed decisions, and taking calculated risks that allow us to move ahead of the curve. It's about cultivating a mindset that sees uncertainty as a source of opportunity, not fear. Those who are willing to adapt, learn, and innovate will be the ones who lead the way in this new world. In the face of this transformation, we must remember that the future is not something that happens to us. It is something we can shape. By staying proactive, understanding the systems around us, and taking thoughtful, deliberate action, we will not only survive the coming changes, but we will thrive in them. The opportunities ahead are vast, and the most important thing we can do is to step into the future with courage, confidence, and a willingness to embrace the unknown. It's up to us to create the future we want to live in.